I have spent hours searching YouTube for someone who actually teaches how to build the perfect cold email target list, and honestly nobody is showing the real method. Everyone just says find companies your needs, but they never explain how to identify which companies actually need your help versus which ones will waste your time. In this video, I'm breaking down the exact system I use to build lead lists that convert cold prospects into booked meetings. This isn't about finding more contacts. It's about finding the right contacts who desperately need what you are selling and have the money to pay for it. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to identify companies that need your help, find their decision makers, and determine who to contact based on company size. Let's dive in. Through our experience helping companies with lead generation, we have discovered something that completely changes how you should build your target list. When companies post job openings for sales representatives, there are two totally different reasons behind those job postings, and understanding this difference is the key to knowing which companies will become your customers and which ones will waste your time. The first type of company is already successful and scaling smoothly. These companies have all of their business systems figured out perfectly. They have plenty of resources and money. They have proven processes that work consistently, and they are completely confident that they can properly train any new employees they hire because they simply want to grow their business to the next level. This type of companies have what we call people problems, which means they need more hands to do the work, but their actual business processes and systems are working just fine. These companies are not your ideal prospects because they do not need help fixing broken systems. The second type of company is hiring sales reps hoping it will fix their broken pipeline. But they actually have lead generation problems. They think hiring more salespeople will magically bring in more customers. But that's not their real problem. Their real problem is they don't know how to find new customers in the first place. They can't send emails that get responses. These companies also can't consistently generate leads through outbound. They also don't know how to contact decision makers and only close clients at networking events and trade shows. They are trying to solve lead generation problems by hiring people instead of fixing their broken system, which is like fixing a leaky roof by putting more buckets on the floor. You can easily spot these second type of companies by carefully reading their job descriptions and job postings because they will literally tell you exactly what their problems are without even realizing it. When you look at their job descriptions for sales positions, you will see phrases like fix pipeline problems, generate new business opportunities, build prospect database from scratch, cold calling and lead generation required, or develop new client relationships. These phrases are like red flags telling you that this company has serious process problems rather than people problems, which makes them absolutely perfect prospects for any kind of lead generation, marketing, or business development service. After you have carefully filtered your companies to include only the ones with lead generation problems, you need to find the right decision makers at those companies using professional tools like Clay or Apollo. The process is really straightforward. You upload your carefully filtered company list into one of these tools. Then you use the Find People feature, and then you enter company website URL. The tool will then show you a complete list of everyone who works at that company along with their job titles, contact information, and other important details. Once you have this information, you can filter the results by job titles to identify the people who actually make buying decisions and have the authority to spend money on solutions like yours. But here is where most people make another huge mistake that ruins their entire cold email campaign. They do not understand that the person you should contact depends entirely on how big the company is. And if you get this wrong, you will waste weeks or months sending emails to people who cannot help you no matter how interested they might be. For companies that make less than $5 million or $10 million in revenue, you need to focus all of your attention on contacting the main decision makers who actually control the money and can make purchasing decisions without asking permission from anyone else. These decision makers include the Chief Executive Officer who runs the entire company, the Chief Financial Officer who controls all the money and budgets, and the Chief Revenue Officer who is responsible for all sales and marketing activities. You can also contact people who are one layer below these main decision makers, but only if they either have the authority to spend money on their own or if they have enough influence and respect within the company to convince the person above them to approve spending money on your solution. For example, if you contact the CEO directly, that person has the power to immediately approve purchasing your service without asking anyone else for permission. If the CEO doesn't respond to your emails, then you can also contact the Chief Revenue Officer because this person handles both sales and marketing for the company. And if they see real value in what you are offering, they have enough influence to schedule a meeting between you and the CEO and help convince the CEO that your solution is worth the investment. And for companies that make more than $10 million per year in revenue, you are dealing with much larger enterprise level organizations where the decision-making process is completely different and much more complex. So your entire approach needs to change accordingly. The first thing you absolutely must do before you even think about contacting anyone at these larger companies is calculate exactly how much money you will make if you successfully close a deal with one of these companies. This is called your deal size, and you need to know this number precisely because it will determine whether pursuing these larger companies is actually worth your time and effort. Once you know your potential deal size, you then need to figure out exactly how many meetings, phone calls, presentations, and follow-up conversations you will need to invest in order to successfully close a deal with one of these large companies. For smaller companies that make less than $5 million per year, you can usually close deals with just 2 or 3 meetings total. But for large enterprise companies that make $10, $20, or $30 million per year, the sales process becomes much longer and more complicated. And you might need to invest 5, 10, 15, or even 20 meetings before you can close a single deal. You need to decide ahead of time what your maximum meeting investment will be. Because if a company requires you to do 20 different meetings and presentations just to close one deal, that might not be worth your time unless the deal size is large enough to justify all that extra work. In our specific case, we have decided that we are willing to invest a maximum of 3 to 4 meetings for any company that makes more than $20 million per year. And we simply do not target companies that would require more meetings than that because the time investment doesn't make financial sense. When you are targeting decision makers at these larger companies that make more than $20 million per year, you can contact people who are up to 3 layers below the main decision maker. And this includes job titles like Director of Sales, Vice President of Sales, or Senior Director of Business Development. The reason you can go deeper in larger companies is that these organizations have more complex hierarchies, and people who are 3 layers down still have significant influence and authority to move deals forward through the approval process. However, you should never go more than 3 layers below the main decision maker, because people who are 4 or 5 layers down do not have enough influence or authority to help you. And you will end up wasting your time having conversations with people who constantly have to say things like, I need to check with my boss, or I do not have the authority to make that decision. The key difference between this method and what everyone else is doing wrong is that we focus completely on quality over quantity in every single step of the process. Instead of sending cold emails to 1000 random contacts and getting terrible 1% response rates that waste your time and energy, you will end up with a much smaller list of maybe 200 extremely qualified contacts who will give you response rates of 10 to 15% because you are contacting people who genuinely need exactly what you are offering and who have the actual authority and budget to purchase your solution immediately. Most people fail completely at cold email marketing because they are reaching out to the wrong people who have the wrong problems at the wrong types of companies, and then they wonder why nobody responds to their emails or takes their phone calls. If you follow this exact method step by step, you will build cold email lists that actually convert into real meetings and paying customers because you are solving real business problems for companies that are actively looking for solutions, even if they do not fully realize it yet or know that better solutions exist. Okay, so that's all for this video. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next one.